Hi everybody, it's David from Doctors of Running, and today we have a fun episode of me looking at the Puma Fast-R Nitro Elite versus the Nike Alphafly Next Percent. Main reason why I'm bringing these two shoes up today is that the topic of the day is, could the Puma Fast-R Nitro Elite be an Alphafly killer? And I think the answer might be yes. They are pretty similar across specs and things like that. Both very high stacked marathon racers, carbon plated. Weight wise, we're looking at 8.0 ounces in the Alphafly Next Percent for my men's 9.5, men's 9.5 for the Puma Nitro Faster. We're looking at 7.7 ounces in my size. So it's a little bit lighter, still high stack, very tuned out plate. This shoe does have an EVA heel with a nitrogen infused P-Bax midsole in the forefoot. The plate sits very high up in the heel, and it's very spooned out as it comes down into the forefoot. And as you can see, the midsole is actually decoupled there. Why I'm comparing these two in this video, this is probably the most similar ride to the Alphafly that I've had so far. In the Alphafly, you have that soft Zoom X foam in the heel with that exposed plate right here and that firmer air pod, and so you really kind of like sink in and load it and snap off of it. You get a very similar sensation with the Faster. The heel's a little bit firmer, but it rocks you real quick with that sharp bevel right here onto that midfoot and forefoot. And when you get onto that forefoot, you really fall onto that softer P-Bax midsole, just really quick, and it's really bouncy, and it's actually pretty snappy too, just based on how that plate is tuned. It goes from up here and just really spoons down throughout the entirety of that shoe, and you feel that. You feel like you kind of drop on, and that drop coming off the heel really helps you load that plate a little bit more, so you can get a little bit more responsiveness out of that toe off. And I like having that firmer heel. It's a pretty interesting feeling at first, just because it's two significantly different midsoles, but having that firmer heel really lets you just land and rock forward, and then all the bounce and ground contact and responsiveness just comes out of the front. I think we would lose a little bit of that rolling sensation if this was a P-Bax foam. I'm sure they've played around with this in the labs when they were making the shoe, but that's kind of what it feels like. But the Nitro Elite foam, very soft, very bouncy. You don't need a whole lot of it to get a good bounce under your foot. So both of these shoes have that feeling where you really get onto that forefoot and you load it and you propel off of it. So out of all the super shoes I've tried, these are probably the two most similar feeling as far as the forefoot goes, but in different ways. Because in this one, it feels a little bit firmer, but then you just like pop right off. This one's much softer, but because of the geometry and how you load it, you just really like land on it and then pop right off. So, two very unique shoes, very different geometries from a lot of the other shoes on the market, but this shoe is a very fun shoe to run in, the Puma Fast-R Nitro Elite. I just did a pretty solid workout in it this morning, 12K tempo in and out with 3K and then a K float, 1K, K float, 1K, K float, 3K. And 3Ks were at like 505 mile pace, and the Ks were at like 448, 450 mile pace, give or take. Right on like 3 flat or so. And yeah, it felt good. It felt real good. And 5K pace, we're hoping to be kind of in the 440 range right now, going forward. So just off of 5K pace, still felt pretty good. It started feeling a little bit like it was a lot of shoe, but in that slightly slower pace, coming up to like that 5.0, or even let's say, and the floats, those were like 540 pace, felt great at those. So it really felt like a shoe that could dial in at the marathon pace or half marathon pace, and I think you could still justify it down to 10K or 5K, just like the Alphafly. But both of these shoes obviously lean longer distances. I think comfort-wise, the Puma worked a little bit better for my foot. If you do have some midfoot instabilities, this could be a little bit wonky just because of the decoupled midsole, but for me, it felt really nice, and I feel like the more I picked up the pace and I really got my legs going underneath me, that the shoe was much more fluid and everything went well. So I was thinking about making this a sub 2 video. I decided not to, just because I wanted to talk a little bit more about my experience, a little bit more in depth. But yeah, we got about 14 miles. No, more than that. We got about 15 miles on these guys so far. I'm curious to see how that ride holds up in comparison with the Alphafly, because I got a lot of responsiveness out of the Alphafly for a while. So I'm curious to see how that goes over time. But Alphafly, we're looking at about 115 miles there, and that's holding up pretty well. So for the next long distance road race, I'm going to have some answers that I'm going to have to, some questions I'm going to have to give some answers to. But right now, I think I might actually be leaning toward the Puma Fast-R Nitro Elite. It works really well for my foot. Transitions are very smooth, very fast in the heel, and very responsive at the forefoot. So I liked it a lot of my initial impressions there. I've done 2 runs, 1 shakeout with some strides, and then the workout that I just talked about with the warm-up and cool-down at the end of either, at the end of both. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting more miles on these and just getting that full review out. So if you like the video, subscribe to Doctors of Running. Check us out at doctorsofrunning.com.